Okay, let's untack this. Think about that moment your blood pressure spikes a little. Maybe it's in gridlock, someone cuts you off, or you're in line, someone just strolls right to the front.
Yep. Familiar feelings.
That flash of heat, that surge of frustration, that's anger, right? And it's a pretty universal human thing.
It absolutely is. And it's interesting, anger in its healthy form, it can actually be quite functional. The Vitality Lab article mentions this.
Functional.
Yeah, like well-managed anger can motivate you to stand up for yourself, maybe set boundaries, or express dissatisfaction constructively.
Okay, right. But then there's a shift, isn't there? When does that occasional frustration become something? Something that impacts life significantly.
Exactly. And that's where this Vitality Lab article brings in the idea of anger issues.
That's our goal for this deep dive, really, to understand what's going on beneath that surface. We want to look at how you might recognize it, maybe in yourself, maybe in others. Explore what could be driving it.
And crucially, offer some practical steps, things you can actually do based on what's in this Vitality Lab piece.
Yeah. And it's important to know, as the article points out, anger issues isn't just one thing. It shows up differently.
Right. The article lays out a few types. There's that explosive anger, big sudden outbursts.
Okay.
Then you've got passive-aggressive anger, more indirect, chronic irritability, like a constant simmer, and even internalized anger, where you turn it inwards.
It's so varied.
Yeah.
And the outward signs, as the article notes, can be completely different too. Someone explosive might yell.
While someone internalizing might just shut down completely, go quiet.
Exactly. So if you're listening and you've ever thought, is my anger more than just, normal annoyance?
Or maybe you're trying to figure out someone close to you who struggles.
Then hopefully this deep dive will offer some real clarity.
So where do we start? How do we even spot when anger becomes a persistent problem?
Well, the Vitality Lab piece stresses it's when it moves past just being an emotion and starts having real negative effects on your, day-to-day.
Okay. A tangible impact.
Right. And the article gives some specific signs, the patterns to look for, like getting really irritated over small things.
Yeah, things that maybe wouldn't bother other people quite so much. That heightened irritability.
Definitely. And linked to that, the article mentions feeling regret after you've reacted angrily.
Oh, yeah. Saying something sharp or doing something impulsive.
And then immediately thinking, ugh, I wish I hadn't done that.
That feeling.
And this one's really interesting, I think. Noticing people around you seem like they're walking on eggshells.
Carefully choosing words, avoiding topics.
Yeah. Like the whole atmosphere shifts because they're worried about your reaction.
That's a big one. A real shift in how people interact with you. The article also points to difficulty forgiving or letting go of grudges.
Right. Just holding on to that resentment, ruminating on it.
It can be really draining. And then there are the physical signs, too.
Oh, definitely. The article mentions those, like the clenched jaw, maybe tight shoulders, your heart racing even.
Your body's definitely sending signals.
No doubt. And that feeling of being sort of swept away by it, like the anger just takes over.
Yeah, feeling out of control. Or the flip side, constantly bottling it up.
Until you just explode, often over something pretty minor, seemingly out of nowhere.
And maybe the clearest sign the article mentions, when it actually starts damaging things.
Like your relationships?
Your relationships, maybe opportunities at work, other parts of your life, real-world consequences.
That's a huge flag. So as you're listening, maybe just, take a second. Does any of that sound familiar? Does it resonate?
Okay, so if those are some signs, what about the why? Why do anger issues develop? The Vitality Lab article is pretty clear. It's usually not just a bad mood.
No, there are often deeper things going on. Roots, you could say.
Right. The article talks first about biological, maybe even genetic factors.
Meaning?
Well, the idea that some people might just have a naturally lower frustration tolerance or maybe higher emotional reactivity.
Okay, influenced by brain chemistry or things passed down.
Exactly. Not about blame, just recognizing a possible predisposition.
Yeah.
Then there's upbringing and environment.
How we were raised.
Yeah. If you grew up seeing anger handled poorly, maybe violence, or maybe it was totally suppressed or used manipulatively.
You learn those patterns.
You do. They can become really ingrained.
That makes sense. We absorb so much early on. The article also brings up chronic stress and burnout.
Big ones. When you're constantly under pressure, maybe not dealing with emotions, just feeling overwhelmed.
Your ability to regulate just tags.
Pretty much, your emotional battery gets drained, making those angry reactions more likely.
Good way to put it. The Vitality Lab article also makes a really important connection to mental health conditions.
Yes, this is key. The article notes anger issues often show up alongside things like anxiety or depression, PTSD, bipolar disorder, ADHD.
So the anger might actually be a symptom in those cases.
It can be, yeah. Or just closely linked to the main condition.
Yeah.
And then there's past trauma.
Right. Big impact there.
Definitely. Unresolved pain from things like bullying, abuse, betrayal, loss. It can linger.
And then get triggered later.
Exactly. It resurfaces as anger, maybe in situations that don't seem directly related, but they poke that old wound.
Like the pain finds an outlet, and anger is sometimes the easiest one to reach for.
It can be. And finally, the article mentions substance abuse.
How does that fit in?
Well, alcohol, drugs, they lower inhibitions, impair judgment. That can lead to more impulsive, volatile, angry reactions.
Got it. So it's often not just one thing, is it?
Rarely. The article really emphasizes that these factors often weave together. Understanding those potential roots, though, that can be a really powerful first step.
Okay, so we've talked about recognizing the signs, explored some of the roots. Now, the crucial part, what can we actually do?
Right, the how.
The Vitality Lab article offers some really practical strategies here. It's about healthier ways to, acknowledge, process, and express anger.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And step one, according to the article, is just acknowledging it, recognizing the feeling when it pops up.
Not trying to ignore it or push it down.
Exactly, because that rarely works long term. Just saying, okay, I feel angry right now, that's the start.
Huh.
It gives you a choice in how you respond instead of just reacting.
Okay, acknowledge it. Then what?
Then the article says, identify your triggers. What sets you off?
Like specific situations, people, topics.
Yeah. The article gives examples, traffic jams, feeling disrespected, not feeling heard, things like that.
Tracking those seems really helpful.
It really is. Mentally, or even writing them down, lets you anticipate things. And then the article talks about practicing calming techniques.
Right, those in-the-moment things.
Yeah, simple stuff, slow, deep breaths, counting, maybe just stepping away for a minute.
Create some space.
Exactly. Interrupt that physical ramp-up of anger. Gives you a beat to collect yourself.
Okay. The article also talks about expressing anger constructively.
Moving away from blame.
Yeah.
Using I statements.
So instead of "you make me mad," it's more like
I feel frustrated when, or I feel hurt because, As the article notes, it helps the other person understand without getting defensive right away.
clearer communication. Makes sense.
Then there's building emotional awareness. Deeper work.
How do you do that?
The article suggests things like journaling, maybe therapy, mindfulness practices, getting better at spotting the emotions under the anger.
Like sadness or fear, hurt.
Precisely. Anger can sometimes be like a cover for those.
A shield.
Yeah.
Okay. The article also mentions healthy boundaries.
Yes. Recognizing situations or people that consistently trigger you.
And limiting exposure.
Yeah. Prioritizing your emotional well-being. Creating environments that feel safer, calmer.
And then the big one, seeking professional help.
Absolutely crucial. The article stresses this. If anger feels overwhelming, if it's destructive, damaging relationships.
Don't go alone.
Right. A therapist or counselor can help unpack those roots and build solid coping strategies, especially if it feels out of control.
And the article briefly mentions medication too.
Yeah, but specifically when anger is tied to other underlying mental health stuff like severe anxiety or depression, and always, always under professional guidance.
Got it. But the main takeaway here from the Vitality Lab piece seems to be,
the goal isn't to eliminate anger, it's natural.
right, it's about managing it healthily, constructively, for you and the people around you.
Exactly. It's about you being in the driver's seat with your anger, not the other way around.
So, wrapping up this deep dive, we've really dug into what the Vitality Lab article offers on anger issues.
Recognizing the signs.
Understanding the potential causes, biology, background, stress, trauma.
And highlighting those practical steps for managing it better, all based on the insights from that source.
And I think a really key message from the article is one of hope, isn't it?
Definitely. Anger issues are manageable. Recognizing it, taking steps to address it, whether on your own or with help, that's a sign of real strength.
So, for you listening, as you think about what we've discussed, maybe reflect on which triggers or causes really struck a chord with you. Perhaps, think about one small step, something concrete you could try, based on the Vitality Lab suggestions, towards maybe more emotional awareness.
Yeah.
or healthier communication?
It's often just about starting somewhere.
Exactly. This is just the beginning of understanding a really complex emotion.
Mm-hmm.
And looking into those further resources we mentioned, therapy, mindfulness could be a really valuable next move for you.